All right, welcome back to the deep dive. As always, we're here to help you cut through all that noise and get to what really matters. Today, we're going deep, deep, deep into something that's, well, kind of all around us, but often flies under the radar: electromagnetic pollution, or as some call it, electropollution.
You got it. And to help us navigate this invisible world, we've got some fascinating material from a company called NOXTAK Technologies.
Right, NOXTAK. And their take on this electropollution thing, well, they frame it as a real environmental toxin, one that impacts not just us, our health, but the whole environment and even, get us, technology itself.
Exactly. It's easy to forget, but we are just surrounded by this sea of wireless signals.
Mm.
I mean, think about it. The ever-expanding 5G networks, public Wi-Fi pretty much everywhere you go, and billions of devices all connected wirelessly.
Yeah, it really paints a picture of an environment that's just saturated with these, well, electromagnetic emissions. So we're essentially swimming in this electromagnetic soup, so to speak.
Yeah.
What is NOXTAC proposing we do about it?
Well, their whole mission, it seems, is to figure out a way for technology and well-being to coexist. I mean, they're not advocating for a tech-free life,
Yeah.
but rather looking for ways to kind of refine our relationship with all these gadgets and signals.
Gotcha. So how do they propose we do that?
The core of their solution, or at least what they're really focused on, is this technology they've developed called SPIRO.
SPIRO, okay. And this SPIRO, what exactly does it do?
Well, according to NOXTAK, SPIRO is able to filter out certain harmful electromagnetic emissions. And this is key. It does this all without disrupting, the connectivity we've all come to rely on. It's all about striking a balance, right? Letting us have the tech we need, but mitigating, the possible downsides.
That makes a lot of sense. Not an all or nothing approach, which is often, well, not very realistic in today's world. So who are the brains behind NOXTAC? What's their story?
NOXTAK was founded back in 2012 down in Aruba by an EMF researcher named Joaquín Machado and an engineer, Marianella Romero.
Aruba, huh. Interesting. So what's their background? What drove them to start this company?
Well, it seems that Marianella actually experiences electrohypersensitivity, or EHS.
EHS, right. That's the condition where people experience, well, they believe they experience negative health effects from the EMF exposure, right? Like from cell phones and Wi-Fi and all that.
Exactly. And so for Marianella, this whole thing wasn't just, an academic pursuit. It was really personal. It was about finding a solution to a problem that was directly impacting her life.
Wow. So they're really trying to tackle electropollution head on. What are the main areas where they believe this SPIRO tech can really make a difference?
They highlight 4 key areas where they're really focused. The first is, and this one's pretty intuitive, human health and performance. Their research suggests that by filtering out certain types of EMF, SPIRO can have a positive effect on overall well-being. And get this, they even believe it could potentially boost a physiological marker called VO2 max.
VO2 max. Refresh my memory. What is that exactly?
VO2 max is essentially a measure of the maximum amount of oxygen your body can use during intense exercise. So it's a key indicator of, your cardiovascular fitness and endurance.
Right, right. The more oxygen you can use, the better you perform, generally speaking. So NOXTAC is saying that SPIRO can actually improve this.
Well, that's what their research suggests. They believe that by reducing electromagnetic stress on the body, you're basically allowing it to function more efficiently, potentially leading to, better physical performance.
Fascinating. So that's how it affects us directly, right? But what about the wider environment? Do they believe SPIRO can make a difference there?
That's their second focus area, the environment. They're looking into how reducing this overall electromagnetic contamination, the invisible stuff we talked about earlier, could have a positive impact, particularly in the fields of regenerative agriculture and livestock management.
Interesting. I wouldn't have immediately connected EMF to agriculture, so what's the thinking there?
Well, the idea is that a less electromagnetically charged environment could lead to healthier ecosystems, and that in turn could contribute to more sustainable food production. It's about reducing stress, not just for us, but for plants and animals too.
So it's all interconnected, potentially. Okay, what are the other areas they're looking at?
The third one is safe connectivity. This is all about, maintaining our technological infrastructure, not trying to dismantle it. NOXTAK claims that SPIRO can actually help improve the performance and reliability of wireless systems. And here's the interesting part. They believe it can actually make things more secure by filtering out what they call dirty electricity.
Dirty electricity. We've heard that term thrown around before, but what does it actually mean in this context?
Well, think of your electricity like water flowing through a pipe. Ideally, it's a smooth, clean flow. Dirty electricity refers to all the irregularities and distortions in that flow. It's like having little ripples or disturbances in that water flow.
Ah, that makes sense. So it's not just about the amount of electricity, but the quality of it. And NOXTAK is saying that SPIRO can clean up that flow.
Exactly. They believe this noise can interfere with how our devices function and even create, vulnerabilities in data transmission, which could have implications for cybersecurity.
Right. So by smoothing out those ripples, so to speak, we get a cleaner, more stable environment for all our wireless communications. Okay, so we've covered health, the environment, and safe connectivity. What's the fourth area?
The fourth and final one is biocompatibility technology. This is a bit broader, but essentially they're looking at ways to make technology more, well, compatible with living systems.
So less disruptive, more in tune with how our bodies and the natural world work.
Precisely. This has implications for a lot of different areas, like electric vehicles, products that integrate Spiro directly, and even the development of, smarter and more sustainable cities.
It sounds like they're really trying to take a holistic approach, considering the impact on all levels. And this SPIRO technology, it seems to be at the heart of all their work. They call it a breakthrough solution. What makes it so special? What's the science behind it?
The core idea is that Spiro can selectively filter out, kind of pinpoint and remove specific components of this electromagnetic pollution. And importantly, they say it does all this without blocking the necessary signals we need for all our devices and systems to work.
It's like intelligent filtering, not just a blanket block on everything.
Right. And Noex Tong emphasizes that this is all based on solid science. They have multiple patents, they've received international awards, and there's global recognition for their work. That suggests there's some real, technical validation behind their claims.
Okay, so it's not just hype. They've got data to back this up. In their materials, they mention some key findings. What are some of the things that really stand out?
Well, they highlight that they've got over a decade of multidisciplinary research under their belt, and they say this research supports the effectiveness of SPIRO. They also mention that they have a presence in over 50 countries around the world, so it's not just a small, localized thing.
Global reach. That's impressive. Anything else?
Perhaps most significantly, they state that over 1,000 individuals who identify as having EHS, the electrohypersensitivity we talked about earlier, have reported benefits from using their technology. And on top of that, they claim their approach is backed by over 30 independent scientific studies.
Wow, those are some pretty big numbers. 1,000 individuals with EHS, 30 independent studies. It definitely paints a picture of a company that's not just talking the talk, but really trying to walk the walk. And it circles back to Marianella's personal experience, right? Their focus on EHS seems especially meaningful given her own struggles. Let's dig a little deeper into their early research in Aruba.
Sure. So as we mentioned, the company's origins are really tied to Marianella's personal challenges with EHS. And their initial research in Aruba, well, it yielded some pretty striking results.
What did they find?
Between 2013 and 2020, they documented and get this, a 453% increase in overall EMF exposure across the island.
453%. That's a huge jump. It really highlights how much our electromagnetic environment is changing, and quickly, in at least some parts of the world. What else did their research uncover?
Well, during that same period, they also identified 29 common symptoms that were reported by individuals who consider themselves highly sensitive to EMF.
29 symptoms. Wow. Did they mention what some of those were?
They didn't list them all, but some of the key ones they highlighted were sleep disturbances, persistent fatigue, and frequent headaches.
Makes sense. Those are all pretty common complaints in general, but they found a link to EMF specifically.
That's right. Their research indicated a correlation between the rising EMF levels and the severity of these symptoms in sensitive individuals. And here's the key part. They found that when measures were taken to control electropollution using their SPIRO tech, many of these symptoms actually improved.
So it wasn't just a coincidence. It really does seem like, for some people at least, these sensitivities are directly related to the amount of electromagnetic radiation in their environment.
That's what their research suggests.
Yeah.
And it underscores the importance of, finding ways to manage these exposures.
Absolutely. Now, NOXTAK isn't just doing research. They're also finding ways to apply their technology in real-world settings. What are some examples of how they're doing that?
Yeah, they've got some pretty innovative applications. In the realm of regenerative agriculture and livestock, they're conducting research into how EMF solutions might contribute to, well, basically making animals healthier and boosting agricultural yields. It's all about exploring the link between EMF and the overall well-being of living things, even down to the food we eat.
Right, because if animals are stressed, it's going to impact the quality of the food they produce. What else?
In cybersecurity, they're exploring how SPIRO can potentially strengthen data integrity by filtering out, remember, dirty electricity. The idea is that cleaner electromagnetic signals could lead to more secure data transmission, making us less vulnerable to cyber attacks.
That's a really interesting angle. It ties back to what we discussed earlier about the importance of signal quality.
Exactly. And the third area they highlight is VO2 max and longevity. Their preliminary research suggests that by filtering out certain types of EMF, SPIRO could actually have a positive effect on cardiovascular performance and, get this, potentially even contribute to a longer lifespan.
Wow, that's a bold claim. Connecting EMF to longevity, that's pretty big.
It is. It really highlights the potential scope of their work, how reducing certain electromagnetic exposures could impact some very fundamental aspects of our health and, well, even how long we live.
So they're looking at everything from individual health to environmental sustainability to the security of our technology. It's a pretty wide-ranging vision. And looking at their timeline, NextTac has been steadily developing their technology and gaining recognition over the years. Are there any particular milestones that stand out to you?
Yeah, there are a few that are worth mentioning. They're planning on launching a new product, the Strummaster Pro, specifically for the European market in 2025. That shows they're thinking about global expansion.
Expanding their reach, making their tech more accessible. What else?
Well, in 2024, Joaquín Machado, one of the co-founders, his book on the topic of electropollution became a bestseller.
Interesting. So it's not just them pushing the message, it's starting to resonate with a wider audience. People are clearly interested in learning more about this. What about their interactions with the scientific community?
They've been invited to speak at various conferences, both scientific and tech-focused. They presented at the Gaia Healer BioWell Congress and also at the Abundance 360 Summit, which is a pretty prestigious event.
And in 2024, they were also listed as a conscious product on GAIA.tv, which suggests they're appealing to a specific audience that's interested in sustainability and well-being.
Right, exactly. And their team got certified in 6G in 2023, which shows they're keeping up with, the latest advancements in wireless technology.
Always looking ahead. Makes sense.
And they're not just focused on theory, they're getting involved in practical projects too.
Hmm.
Like in 2022, they started working with the city of Doral to monitor 5G levels, which is a pretty real-world application. And they're also doing research on how SPIRO could be used to filter EMF in Tesla electric vehicles.
So really trying to address these concerns wherever they pop up. Practical solutions, that's what people are looking for. What else did they do in 2022?
They opened a biophotonic lab specifically for easy water research. And, maybe even more importantly, they completed double-blind clinical trials using their SPIRO technology.
Okay, so a dedicated lab and clinical trials. That shows a serious commitment to scientific rigor.
Definitely. And 2022 was also the year they had their initial commercial launch at CES, the Consumer Electronics Show.
Ah, so making the jump from research and development to actually getting their products out into the market.
Exactly. And if we go back a little further, they received some pretty significant awards for their work. In 2021, they won the gold medal at the German Innovation Awards, and in 2020, they won silver in material science at the Edison Awards.
So recognition from the innovation community, that's a good sign.
Right. And before that, in 2019, they were featured in the CTA Sustainability Report, highlighting their commitment to environmentally responsible tech solutions. All in all, their timeline really showcases a consistent dedication to research, innovation, and, gaining recognition in a variety of fields.
It's an impressive track record. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. We talked about NOXTAK's perspective on electropollution, the science behind their SPIRO technology, the many ways they're applying it, their origins, and their progress over the years. For our listeners, what's the key takeaway? What should they remember from this deep dive?
I think the main takeaway is that NOXTAK SPIRO technology represents a very real attempt, grounded in science, to address the growing problem of electromagnetic pollution. And their approach could have a wide range of benefits, from individual health and athletic performance to the environment and even the security of our technology.
Right. It's not about rejecting technology. It's about finding ways to live with it, to make it work for us, not against us. So for our listeners who are interested in exploring this further, where can they go to learn more directly from NOXTAK?
NOXTAK encourages you to visit their website. They also have a YouTube channel where you can probably find, more in-depth information, research updates, and product details. You might even be able to check out their online store or learn about some of the projects they're working on.
Great. And as we wrap up, here's a final thought for you to ponder. As wireless technology becomes even more ingrained in our lives and everything we do, what are the long-term implications for both society and technology of innovations like SPIRO? These are innovations that are designed to, well, help us manage our exposure to these electromagnetic fields. It's a question that touches on our well-being as individuals and the direction technology takes in a world that's increasingly interconnected. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.